set the scene for you, alright? Me. In this big store that's sort of like a big collectibles thrift store. There's no other way to describe it. I had just told the girl behind the register while she was checking me out that I really love horror movies, and I was telling her about this channel, and she was like, wait, we have this super weird one that you might want so that you can like talk about it on your channel. And I was like, okay, show it to me. So what she brought me was this. But what is this? Well, this, my friends, is Adam Mason's 2010 film Pig. Instead of sort of actually talking about the actual film, I'd rather more talk about the film and like its story. Not the actual story in the movie, but the story of how this film came to be. I find it to be a really interesting tale, but also this isn't a movie that you can just talk about, right? Like, other movies, for example, House of the Devil, directed by Ty West. I love this movie. This is a movie with narrative, characters, structure, you know, things. You can sit down and you can talk about this movie, and what happens in it. There's not really a good way to discuss this movie because everything in it that happens just kind of happens. It's a lot. And so I think that talking about it and how it came to be would be a lot more interesting. And all of the information in this video comes from the handful of interviews that I could find with Adam Mason, the director, about the movie, as well as a lot of information is also from IMDb. All of my sources will be in the description. I highly recommend that you go and you read some of these articles because they're really quite interesting if you want to know more. Let's get into it, shall we? So, the real question that we should be asking ourselves at first is, who is Adam Mason? Adam Mason is a director, obviously. He studied film in London and he began his directorial career making music videos and short films. A pretty standard starting place for someone getting into film. Please focus on me and not my computer. I know she's a dish, but I am the center of attention right now. I think it's in focus. Anyway, so in 2004 he started the film, but the film actually released in 2006. In 2004 to 6, whatever, he made his first feature film for £5,000, which in today's money and also converted to US dollars is about 10,000 bucks, which is not a lot to make a movie, not at all, but it's possible. The movie Broken is, it's a pretty simple concept. It's a splatter film about a woman trying to escape a psychopath in the woods. How simple, how quaint, how timeless. For the horror genre, at least. The reviews aren't amazing, which isn't really a surprise for a first-time feature film and also a low-budget splatter horror film, but it did catch some eyes on him from Hollywood, which is all that matters. His next film, Devil's Chair, is not as simple as Broken, but interesting nonetheless. It takes some pretty clear inspiration from Hellraiser, mainly in just having themes of lots of violence and also supernatural S&M. The summary on IMDb is as follows. With a pocket full of drugs, Nick West takes his girlfriend Sammy out for a good time. When they explore an abandoned asylum, the discovery of a bizarre device, a cross between an electric chair and a sadistic fetish machine, transforms drugged-out bliss into agony and despair. After Sammy is brutally assaulted and murdered by unseen forces, Nick becomes the #1 suspect. Years pass, and Nick, who has been locked in a mental hospital, is released into the care of eminent psychiatrist Dr. Willard, who is hell-bent on exposing the truth behind the killing. Accompanied by Dr. Willard and several of his students, Nick returns to the scene of the crime. However, the decrepit asylum hides a blood-drenched secret. Is it Pinhead's cousin? Following The Devil's Chair, in 2009, Mason released a psychological thriller set in a ghost town called Blood River. The IMDb description states simply that Blood River explores the destruction of a young couple's seemingly perfect marriage. So this is where the sort of domino effect that leads to the making of Pig starts to come in. According to an article by Richard Whitaker from the Austin Chronicle, Blood River got caught in distribution hell because of a fight between two producers, which left Adam Mason broke and broken down. So, now let's talk about Pig. According to Adam Mason's Pig is playing South by Southwest and Never Again by Bloody Disgusting, Pig was made for just $3,000. You heard me right. $3,000. 3,000 USD. Which is like, if $10,000 is a shoestring budget, $3,000 is like a piece of ramen noodle budget. The entire film is a single 90-minute take, and it is completely unscripted. Totally unscripted. It seems to me like they just started recording until they had a movie, and then they were like, I'm sure that there was a little bit more planning that went into it than that, but I just think it's funny to imagine that that's how they made the movie. This is also part of the reason why I feel kind of strange trying to review this as if it was a normal movie, because nothing about this is normal. This isn't the average filmmaking process. The movie lacks narrative, it lacks structure, so why does it exist and why do I find it so interesting? In an interview with MovieRamblings.com, Mason opened up about the concept behind Pig. I was sick of the horror world at the time, sick of what I saw as a perverse kind of titillation dressed up as entertainment and aimed purely at pigs. This was pre-Paranormal Activity, when everything coming out was akin to Hostel, which I suppose I contributed to with Broken and The Devil's Chair, unfortunately. So I decided to make a film squarely from the point of view of a pig, aimed at the pigs who watch that kind of stuff. Something that always makes me kind of chuckle about reading the reviews for this movie is reading reviews from people wondering why there are no actual pigs in a movie called Pig, as if symbolism and figures of speech don't exist in film or something. Figures of speech. What it seems to me is that Adam Mason left the mess that was the distribution of Blood River broken and frustrated, and so he just made a, relatively speaking, cheap movie to dump all of his frustration and all of his disgust with the horror genre, and oh boy did he do that. Pig is depraved. Pig is disgusting. Pig is offensive. It is so offensive. This is a movie that I think actually benefits from how exhausting that one-take shooting is. Shooting a movie in one take takes away the audience's chance to decompress from a particularly distressing scene. So when a film is one single take, it just feels like one long, grueling experience that doesn't end. Because that's what it is, basically. And when he talks about the film's meaning, the single take actually does hold some significance in the overall satire. It destroys far-right gender politics in America today by putting the audience in the deplorable shoes of the antagonist and not allowing them any respite as the movie plays out in real time. This is a movie about depravity, misogyny, exploitation, and I do feel like when you watch it with the context, you can see the satire. It's there. The full runtime of the movie, you can hear in the background the man is listening to what honestly kind of sounds like the very real life radio programming that alt-right people do listen to. It kind of sounds like if you took Alex Jones and Rush Limbaugh and just put them together. The host is just sitting there spewing all sorts of misogynistic bullshit. Like, you know, stuff like women are manipulative, men only want sex, and women who don't want to give them sex, bad. Don't compliment your girlfriend because it will make her confident enough to leave you. You know, those kinds of things. Mason told Movie Ramblings that the radio programming was meant to reinforce the kind of misogyny that the movie is trying to satirize. So, before we wrap up today, I would like to talk briefly about the distribution, because as I mentioned, one of the tipping points for Mason making this film was the distribution nightmare of Blood River. Pig premiered live on Bloody Disgusting April 17th, 2010, as we can see from this announcement, posted March 31st, 2010. Remember the good old days when your friends would slip you a copy of a horror film they discovered in the hopes that you would love it too? Well, director Adam Mason and producer and star Andrew Howard want to take you back to those days, as they'll be giving away their latest collaboration for free. Here on Bloody Disgusting, we'll be holding the world premiere of Pig on April 17th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Shot on the cheap and on the sly with any word kept carefully out of the press until the film was complete, Pig is a grueling exercise in single-take horror, a savage satire on American gender roles based around a lunatic central performance from Andrew Howard, with the runtime dominated by a single 70-plus minute take. This is something entirely new from Mason, a technical experiment that builds on the themes and approach from his earlier work. Finding that blog post from Bloody Disgusting did feel a little bit like archaeology. I mean, like, I didn't find it. It was a hyperlink on the other post from them that I was referencing, but I almost didn't see it. Aside from its stint on Bloody Disgusting, Pig has never received an official distribution. And it never will. This was not designed to be seen by a lot of people. Its only official screening ever was at South by Southwest 2017. According to the Austin Chronicle article, in 2017, his flesh-crawling home invasion horror, Hangman, played in South by Southwest Midnighters, and Pig came up in conversation. The next thing I knew, I got a letter saying, "Congratulations, you've been accepted by South by." So next thing I had to do was see if it still existed. And it did. He found the film on a couple old hard drives in his garage, and so at South by Southwest 2017, Pig received its first and last official screenings. Now, I bet you're wondering how I have a physical copy that I purchased with real American currency if this film has never received an official distribution. And that's a question I am willing to answer, and this is where our story leaves Adam Mason, a passionate horror filmmaker with a lot of really cool ideas. I do encourage you guys to check out some of his other work. Don't watch Pig. It's kind of hard to find. It's not really worth watching. Trust me, I watched the full thing. he has 2 installments in the Hulu original series, Into the Dark. They Come Knocking and I'm Just Fucking With You. Also, I recommend Blood River. It's a pretty good film. But yeah, he is a talented filmmaker, and I'm excited to see what else he has to bring to the world. Moving on to slightly grimier things. I'm only going to talk about this just like a little bit. But moving on to how I have a physical copy of a film that never got an actual distribution, well, the answer is quite simple. Bootlegging. Now, I know that I don't have to tell you that bootlegging and pirating films is actually quite common, but what I'm gonna be talking about here real quick is a little bit different than college kids just pirating a movie because they don't want to pay for it. The media company listed on the case here, which I will not be mentioning because no free clout, they specialize in specifically bootlegging underground splatter and exploitation films. Their words, not mine. And releasing them in small batches, something that they very much do independently from the actual producers of the movie. And I don't want to name them, like I said, no free clout, because they strike me as actually like pretty grimy people. I mean, shock horror. The people who specialize in distributing rare splatter and exploitation films might not be the greatest guys. Who would have guessed it? And that's where the story ends. That is the end of the video. That's the end of the story. I wanted to make this video because Pig is not a good movie, but it certainly is a very interesting and very small footnote in horror history, and I just wanted to sort of share this with you. If you liked this video and you want to see more kind of like it, subscribe, hit the bell, and all of those cool things. Yeah.